My joyful married life did not last long. We've been married for 2 years. I still have feelings for my husband and devote my time to him every day. I want him to continue seeing me as attractive. Therefore, I always take care of myself and try to look good. However, I discovered that my husband was having an affair. She is the love of my life. I want a divorce. One afternoon, I thought my husband, Gavin, was at work, but he unexpectedly returned home with his lover. Divorce papers are in his possession. Since when? Since after our trip last year. His sweetheart is sitting there with an expressionless face. When Gavin mentions the trip, he probably means our honeymoon. We had not been able to go. So when I earned an expected bonus, Gavin expressed a desire to leave, so we made a last-minute choice. Of course, I was the one who paid for it. According to Gavin, his ex-girlfriend and current lover contacted him on our honeymoon, which made him realize he still had feelings for her. What exactly are you talking about? We were on honeymoon. There's no point in expressing that right now I am in love with her. She too needs me. It's just that we were a little slow to realize how we felt about each other. I like you, but she is the one I really adore. You have to comprehend. How can I? Haven't you believe I would sign the divorce papers? What about the way I feel? Gavin sighs as if he had no idea what to do and replies, you find someone better. You probably don't want to live in this place anymore. We will live here. So you pack up your belongings and leave in about a week. It's as if he no longer wants anything to do with me. He has already proposed and asked me out. He is now planning to dump me. He accepted no responsibility for anything during our marriage, and I feel as if all of my feelings for him have vanished. Gavin did not apologize before I signed the divorce papers. With that, my husband and his lover depart the house. We'll be returning next week, so be out by then, he explained. I feel like my insides are freezing. It happens so quickly that I don't even shed a tear. And instead of feeling betrayed, I feel duped, which makes me feel terrible about myself and the circumstances that I am in. The next day, I asked a buddy to help me collect all of my possessions and return to my parents' house. Because I work as a nurse and Levi is not well compensated for his employment, I finance the majority of his living expenses. Although I am startled that Levi is having an affair and getting divorced, I will no longer have to pay rent, which I will consider a significant positive in this circumstance. I have decided where I will live, and I'm packing my belongings again to leave my parents' place. My mother says Lily, Levi is here. It was raining outside, so I let him in. She stares at me apologetically. What on earth does my ex-husband want from me after all this time? He stated that I wasn't the love of his life, so he can't be here to ask me to come back. Is this the case? Does he want money? I know it's impolite to make such an assumption, but given how much he spent and how often he grumbled about working while we were married, it's only logical to believe that money is the reason he's here. Maybe I had something of his that he had forgotten, so I went down to the living room to see what he had to say. What do you want? My father's voice is harsh, but Gavin remains calm. When he says, I'd like to speak to your daughter, he must have nerves to remain calm in this situation. What do you want? I'm busy right now, you know. I open the door to face him, expecting it to be short, and I am at a loss for words. His girlfriend, or more accurately, his new wife, is sitting next to him, as if she had the right to be there. Why is she here? This is my parents' residence. What are your thoughts? A reasonable person would not bring this woman here. And it's absurd that she believed it was appropriate to join us. Bringing his past mistress into the house where I grew up? It is more than insulting. Calm down. His attitude and remarks annoy me. The wife remains silent this time as well. Could we perhaps get whatever you're here for done as soon as possible? Possibly irritated by my attitude, Gavin has a harsh expression. This is vital. We have yet to address divisional property. I'm only here to receive my part. Money. Just as I expected. Gavin seemed excited. Yeah, you're correct. Of course, I knew he'd arrive soon enough, so I was prepared. I pull out my handbag and hand him 30 cents. Here, this is your share. What? Gavin and his new wife stare at the 3 dimes in his hand. What's this? He throws the coins on the floor. His new wife also speaks up. Are you kidding me? You are unable to call this property. Stop fooling around. They're both crimson in the face. That is all the savings we have left. Gavin must have expected more, but when I calmly tell him that this is a fact, he snores and glances down at me, asking, what are you talking about? I know there are more. You have 200,000. Hurry up and give me my part of 100,000. He swings his hands around in an irritating motion while his wife sits next to him, nodding. I am taken aback and remain motionless before him. You mentioned you wanted this over as soon as possible. Then hand me the money. He begins screaming and flinging his belongings around the house, and he's completely different from the man I knew. Seeing these must reveal his true colors. I'm so glad I got to leave him. Hearing the loud noises and shouting, my father, who had left the room, and my brother, who had just returned home, entered the living room. Dad is frozen at the sight of Gavin going insane. However, he grabs his arms and wraps them behind his back, preventing him from further tearing up the room. I briefly discuss the problem with my brother, a lawyer. And because he is aware of the divorce, he understands what is happening rapidly. Levi's new wife overhears our chat and learns that Levi is a lawyer. Hey, I never heard that your ex-wife had a lawyer in the family. Her eyes are huge and she's shouting at Gavin. I'm curious why these two are so concerned about money. Despite my desire to avoid speaking with Gavin, I decided to ask him, why do you need the money so badly? You divorced me. Because you mentioned that this is the woman of your dreams. You decided to be with her instead of me, and this is why you wanted me to leave. Yes, it is correct, but property division is vital. Finally, the house we now live in is the one you and I shared, so we want to create our own house. We want children, so we need a car, and I'd like to take them on a lovely vacation. I want to perform the same tasks that any other spouse would, which is why I'm here, even though it's difficult. Every excuse he mentions is extremely selfish. Okay, he did not want to come here. I do not want him here either. He doesn't realize how bad what he did was, so he doesn't appear regretful at all. And I financially supported our marriage. Giving back my portion is the least you can do to thank your loving ex-husband. He snorts again. What exactly did he say? Did he help me financially? Maybe I misheard. Gavin had no desire to work and would return home as soon as possible so he could play online games. He would take days off when he didn't feel like it. As a result, he'd deplete all of his paychecks and be forced to pretend he was ill. He had no desire to make additional money, and he took full advantage of the fact that I was a nurse and was well paid, covering all of my living expenses. He gave me 100 multiple times when he felt like it. But honestly, it seemed as if he was an unemployed boyfriend who simply resided in their girlfriend's flat without accomplishing anything. Gavin never performed any housekeeping, and maybe I could understand if he praised me for my efforts. But I was so disappointed by his outrageous statements that I decided to financially support our marriage. I was responsible for all of our living expenses. How do you say that? According to what you just said, you should also return the 30 cents that I just gave you. What exactly are you talking about? You truly don't know anything, don't you? Mrs. You too. I am sure you were delighted by my savings, but I have some bad news. I remain cool and Gavin and his wife stare at me. From here, my brother speaks on my behalf. Excuse me, my name is Charles Palmer and I am a lawyer. Please let me explain on behalf of my sister. The partition of property only applies to the couple's savings made while married. This means that any money saved prior to the marriage is not valid. My sister saved the $200,000 before marriage. Thus, it is hers and cannot be divided between you. You had only 60 cents remaining in your share account. As a result, your portion is half that amount or 30 cents. There is no point in whining about this amount. It appears that my sister was saving for your future. But I suppose you spent it all on the lady sitting next to you. Charles says all of this calmly, shocking Gavin and his wife. But, however, he tries to hit back. I just said it as Catherine's brother. Please allow me to speak today as her attorney. My client has requested that you pay her compensation. Why haven't you made the payment? Exactly. I had asked for compensation. However, Gavin had only partially paid me, and I questioned why the remainder of my money hadn't been made yet. That's why I officially asked my brother to mediate between us. My true lawyer is his colleague, but we didn't expect Gavin to come here today. So Charles is operating on my lawyer's behalf. With Charles' razor-sharp glance and words, Gavin and his wife fell silent. You asked for a share. You're the one who had an affair. Hence, you were responsible for the divorce. I don't think it makes sense for you to ask for any amount. You appear to have spent all of the money my sister had set aside for the two of you. And my sister wants that you repay the entire cash you owe her, as well as pay the compensation. That is impossible. Let's end this, honey. We can't take this any further. Gavin is standing up, kicking the table. His wife tries to restrain him as Charles refuses to move and invokes the term court. Gavin appears to have lost hope and begins to confess the truth. After the divorce, it appears that he was fired. Since his wife is unemployed, they began borrowing money. As a result, they are currently in massive debt. They were unable to pay the compensation, and when they looked for another way to obtain money, they remembered my funds. They assumed I would give them half the cash if they discussed division property. I was stunned and flabbergasted when they flipped their attitude 180 degrees and asked me for aid. My brother shakes his head, suggesting that I should not listen to them. I have no empathy for them at all. Tell them they still need to pay me back for my compensation and savings. I then asked my brother and father to accompany them out. The last few hours were like a storm. My mother returns to the room with a sigh of relief and begins cleaning up. My father is upset, remarking, "What a terrible man." And he helps her. My brother rubbed my back. "You did not do anything wrong. What you accomplished today, as well as the actual divorce, you should feel confident." He says that, soothing me. He also emphasizes the importance of ensuring that remuneration is paid. He calls his colleague right away. He believes the entire legal group is on your side. "I'm exhausted, Mother. You did an excellent job. Why don't we eat steak tonight to make ourselves feel better?" I collapsed on my mother and hugged her. My father and brother consented to go out, and we had a great time for dinner that night. Later, with the assistance of my brother, his colleague, and the law company, the compensation and utilized savings were recovered. Gavin and his wife appear to have had little luck in job interviews, and I hear they've ended up working many part-time jobs each. It's unlikely that they'll buy a house, a car, or go on vacation for a while. They appear to be grateful to me now that they have experienced their current life. So when we meet one another on the street, they properly greet me. I feel so much better knowing that they have made some progress. As for myself, I am currently in a stable relationship with the attorney who represented me in this matter. Charles is pleased, stating, "This man is ideal for me. 1 year after the divorce, I plan to introduce my new lover to my parents soon. I am sure they will be overjoyed for me." I feel this way because when my ex-husband said the love of his life, I didn't comprehend what he meant. But now I'm thinking that maybe this man is genuinely the love of my life.